We're gonna do this. We never usually. We're gonna first. We could get some use this, yeah. Are you ready? Welcome to our July 10th Board of Directors meeting for LAVTA. We'll go ahead and call our meeting to order, and we will do the Pledge of Allegiance first, and then we'll do our roll call. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you please take roll?
Sure. Chair Brandon.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here.
Director Howard.
Present.
And Director Zuzi.
Here.
Director Kick is absent. Director Testa.
Here.
And Chair Hernandez.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our meeting will be open to the public at this time. Item number 3, members of the audience may address the Board of Directors on any matter within the general subject matter jurisdiction of LAVTA. Do we have any members of the public?
We don't have any members of the public through Zoom or here in person today. I didn't get anything via email.
No written comments. Okay, great. So we will move on to item number 4, which is our 5 Valley Accessible Advisory Committee minutes.
Great. We have Sean Costello joining us to give the update. We will promote him to attendee. Turn that right now.
Was he on there earlier?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and the minutes are also in your packet.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. And we tested his audio.
Hi,
Hey,
Sean.
there's Sean.
Hello, all. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Hi, Sean.
I cannot find the minutes. I don't know what I'm doing. But what we normally do is we do it like you guys do. We go, John Costello's here, Herb's here, everybody's here. And we go all through the whole thing, and then we talk about issues of what's happening with the drivers. I gave a report that I went and I trained some of the drivers about they're not doing the tie downs correctly. They I have this thing that I sit on that lifts me up out of the chair, and they're using that to tie me on the bus, and I go, that's the wrong one. And so LAVTA invited me over, and I did a training with that. Took about 10 hours, had them all practice how to tie down. That was great. That was a couple of months ago. Also, we were introduced to the new board, the new guy that doing the wheels thing now. He's a great guy. And there he is saying hello. We were talking about the recruitment stuff, about getting us new members and stuff, and I have been demoted this year. I've been doing this so long that I have to be a for next year, starting now, I am gonna be the the Devon representative alternative person. That means that the other girls, they're gonna be doing their terms. And then I'm gonna be an alternate for a year. And I'll still be on here. Whenever nobody shows up, I get to go and say my piece. And so I'm just glad to be here with everybody, and thank you for letting me do the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Do you guys have any questions for Sean? Anybody? Okay, not seeing any questions. We'll go ahead and go on to item number 5, which is our consent agenda. Do any of our board members would like?
I'm sorry, I did have some questions on the minutes, but I apologize, I missed that. I just wanted to
So
question,
you want to pull the minutes from item A?
yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, because there were so many concerns about how the chairs were secured in the vehicles.
For the TAC meeting, yes, so we have been, hearing from our TAC members as well as from our bus operators that there have been some challenges with properly securing mobility devices. Mobility devices range in size from your traditional wheelchair to oversized scooters. We have been working hard to reinforce the training with our operators so that they know the exact process for tying down the mobility devices. It's not all of our, let me backtrack. Some of our TAC members prefer to be secured a different way, but it is out of alignment with the way that is the safest and the proper way to secure them. We are working to communicate that to our TAC members, and they can request a reasonable accommodation if they would like to do so. Mike, do you have any other thoughts?
Just if they have a reason, I mean, we have a protocol to make sure that the chairs are secured, and part of that is to make sure, I guess we don't do the front ones first.
Right.
We do the front one after the 2 rear ones are, and that way, if you do it the same way every single time, then the driver can't, it's much less likely the driver would make a mistake and not secure someone, and not securing a wheelchair can have, really bad consequences. But not every passenger agrees with the protocol that MV, our operator, has trained our drivers to do. So that's what we're doing. Someone with a disability can request a reasonable accommodation if their disability requires something to be done differently. But it's not exactly a question of preference. There has to be a reason.
Okay, so if they don't feel that the way that their chair is being secured makes them feel secure, if they don't feel safe, they can request that it be done differently. Is that what you said? No.
They're open to request, anyone's open to request accommodation. I think we need to make sure that there's a basis for it. And so more than personal preference, it's a question of safety. But what we don't want to do is have different ways of securing the chairs and then have there be a mistake and someone get injured. So it's really a safety concern. And we'd have to have a good reason not to follow our established protocol, because we don't, there been situations where not on our system, but where people have been badly injured due to lack of security.
But
It's a national issue. I mean,
but also the fact that there's some riders that don't want our staff to do it a certain way. And so it ends up being like, back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And so if we have a protocol exactly how to do it, then they're just following the guidelines. But we've had a few riders that feel that we've broken something of theirs on their wheelchair, but it really wasn't. And it's just kind of going back and forth. So that's why our staff has to do it a certain way.
Okay, so are the riders, I'm sure they are given a booklet or something that says this is what the protocol is, so that they understand and can see that that's what's going on?
I don't know if we have a booklet for riders. Tamara, or Gina, might know. Okay. For Pixco?
No, maybe we used to have, maybe they used to have some
separate.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, if we had done anything to our passengers.
No, I don't think so.
Well, in the new code of conduct, it
Right.
does describe the procedure to do the front wheel first,
Yep.
but not all the way, and
Right,
then
and then
back
tighten,
wheels,
yeah.
and then tighten the front again.
Yeah.
We do offer a tether strapping program, so we will give, I think they're blue straps to prefix to the mobility device. And then we train our operators to tether those straps to the bus. And so many of our TAC members have those straps on their chair. These chairs are just very, very different. Some of them are very tall. Some folks carry oxygen and bags, and that can, you know, change your center of gravity, I think, and just our buses can be bouncy. And I think that contributes to a feeling of that maybe I'm not secured properly.
Okay, it's a tough one, definitely. You know, if people are, and I can understand, you know, there has to be a standard protocol, but on the other hand, if someone doesn't feel safe, then I understand that as well. Okay, all right, well, thank you.
Okay, any other items?
We're gonna that's it.
All right, so not seeing any other items, I'll go ahead and ask for an approval for the consent calendar.
Brown moves consent calendar approval. Do you still want to pull the minutes or was there a misunderstanding?
No, we have a discussion I need. and I'm good.
Okay, then for the entire consent calendar.
Second.
Do we have a first and second, a motion and second?
Okay, Vice Chair Branning,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Yes.
Director Halbert,
Aye.
Director Josie,
Aye.
and Director Kick came in on this last item at around 4 p.m. Go ahead. Aye. And Director Testa
Aye.
and Chair Hernandez.
Aye,
Motion passes.
thank you. Our item number 6 is staff sheet standing committees and membership.
Sure, thank you, Chair. This is your annual action item to establish your committee membership and elect your chair and vice chair for your projects and services and your finance and administration committee. At last month's meeting, the board elected Chair Hernandez from Dublin and Vice Chair Branning from Livermore as your board leadership. Board bylaws state that the two entities not represented as chair and vice chair of the board shall be your chairs of your two committees. So that would leave us with Pleasanton as a chair and the County of Alameda as a chair. So in your attachment 1, which is the resolution, staff are recommending that the composition of your committees remain the same. So the committee that you have been on, you will remain on. And we are recommending Julie continue to be chair of finance and admin from Pleasanton, and that Supervisor Halbert be the chair of your projects and services committee as he represents the county. Vice chair of finance and admin would be Brittany from Livermore, and we are recommending Carla be our vice chair for projects and services. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Do we have any public comment on this?
No, in fact, on the last item, we didn't have public comment.
Okay. Not seeing any public comment, I will go ahead and ask for a approval of.
Brown moves agenda item 6 for approval as written.
Second, Josie.
Please take away.
Vice Chair Branning,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Yes.
Director Halbert. We'll come back to him. Director Josie.
Sorry, aye.
Okay, thank you. Director Josie.
Aye.
And Director Kick. And Director Testa
Aye.
and Chair Hernandez.
Aye,
Motion passes.
thank you. And then item number 7 is issuing the task order number 3.
Yeah, thank you.
LLC.
Thank you. This is an action item. We are requesting the board authorize task order number 3 with Ascendal Group LLC for grant writing support and strategic planning services in fiscal 24. Hard to believe we're in fiscal 24. About 2.5 years ago, LAVTA issued an RFP for on-call strategic planning services to support a variety of tasks, including interagency collaboration and communication, grant writing support, conversion to zero emissions buses, general transit planning services, ongoing fair transit improvement programs, et cetera. The contract was awarded to Ascendal Group for a 3-year base term with 2 additional 1-year options. Since the contract award, 2 task orders have been issued, one in early 22, one in right before I started in November 22. Both are really focused on strategic planning services and grant writing support, particularly for the state's transit and intercity rail capital improvement program. We are looking to line up that same support for fiscal 24 and issue our third task order. We are bringing this to the board because the prior two task orders have just been beneath my executive director's authority for spending. And so this task order in the amount of 70,000 would exceed that. So which is why we're bringing it to the board. This has been included in our fiscal 24 budget. I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. So Jennifer Yeaman was writing grants for us at one time. Is she overseeing this?
She will be working with us then when she returns.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we think she will be coming back part-time in the very near.
That's a perfect combination.
Yes.
All right, that's my question. Thank you.
No other questions? Any public comment?
There was no public comment.
Okay, not seeing any public comment, we'll bring it back to the board for a motion to go ahead and let Christy do her job.
So moved, Josie.
Second.
Okay, please take roll.
Sure. Vice Chair Brannick.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Aye.
Director Hubbard.
Aye.
Director Josie.
Aye.
Director Kick. Aye. Director Testa.
Aye.
And Chair Hernandez.
Aye,
Motion passes.
it's all yours, Executive Director.
All right, well, this is actually, we
Actually, we have one more item, number 8, consider the amendment to LAVTA bylaws, article number 3, section 3.03.
Thank you. This is the first reading of for you to consider a proposed amendment to the LAVTA bylaws, specifically Article 3, Section 3.03A for board member compensation. At the April 25th Finance and Admin Committee, it was requested that staff do some research on board member stipends, considering that the board member stipends for LAVTA board member participation have not been updated in about 10 or 15 years. So staff went and did some research as to the stipend amounts for various local agencies and other transit authorities. The information that we collected is included in your packet. We presented this information at the May Finance and Admin Committee meeting where the committee found it appropriate to recommend increasing the compensation paid to board members from $100 to $150, a modest increase over 15 years. And pursuant to the authority's joint exercise of powers agreements, amendments to the bylaws require 2 readings and notice to the member jurisdictions prior to final approval. So we will consider this the first reading of the proposed amendment. Those are included, the amended language is included in your packet. And we would bring this back to the board for your second reading in September. I can answer any questions.
Any questions?
I have a question. Zone 7 is included in the comparisons and so is the Livermore Area Recreation and Park District. What was the reasoning for including non-transit agencies in the comparison?
I think that was a recommendation from the Finance and Admin Committee to look at what other committees and bodies our board members serve on.
So the Zone 7 is the, is that a liaison committee, or is it the Zone 7 board?
I think it's the board.
Okay, do they also get a,
No.
I think that's a completely different. I think that's apples to oranges.
Oh, okay,
I would think, it'd be like comparing Zone 7 board to a council,
Okay.
as opposed to a regional. And I would think that the Livermore Area Recreation Park District would be similar,
Okay.
as
Okay.
opposed to a board made up of a subcommittee of each individual council
Okay.
and board of supervisors.
Okay.
That may be skewing our results just a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think so. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you because of the fact that, one, there hasn't been an increase at all whatsoever in X amount, and we don't really know. I mean, I guess we kind of know what the Zone 7 does, but with regards to, they have what, 1 or 2 meetings a month, and they are not comparable to a city council.
No, I understand, but that's their whole compensation as opposed to like, I know on our council, we get a stipend and then we get, we get a council stipend. And then we get compensated for going to these additional meetings, as part of the Wheels Board. Zone 7's directly elected as opposed to appointed by a different body and this is their compensation for being directly elected to the Zone 7 board as opposed to being appointed. So it just, it feels like a different animal to me. I'm not arguing against it's been 15 years. I'm just saying that that's not I don't think it's an apples to apples comparator.
I think even if we took out those two, just one is 100, one is 197, I don't actually think it changes. Like, and short, like the math technically does change, right? But it's not like zone 7 was $700 and we're using that as a comparison. It's still like within a reasonable chunk of change.
Yeah, that was a particularly big outlier. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Well, you can compare to what ACTC has.
Yeah, they-
And then stop waste, and those are non-elected,
Mhm.
those are all just extra, and we're still way below. I mean, ACTC, remind me, supervisor, or
It's too good.
Carla, yeah,
It's on,
and
it's
then-
on here.
Stop waste is, we
Yeah, stop
talked about
waste.
stop
Yeah, we
waste
talked
at our
about stop
meeting, but
waste.
it's not listed here.
Yeah.
And what stop waste at 250?
I think they're 250 or 225.
Yeah.
They're all in the 100 to 125 to 150
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
LAVTA is 125. So,
So if I could ask a question, your chair of TBTC, is that 100? Just by comparison, it is a transit organization. But to think that there is no adjustment, we've certainly had significant cost of living increases since 2006.
but that would be up to TVCT board members to also bring it up to their, board if they.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah,
think everybody should be making it current, but it's a transit agency based subcommittee, so that's right. It's 100, but. Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
All right, any public comment? Not seeing any. public-
Sorry. There's a new piece of legislation, and I don't remember if it's only for elected bodies. It hasn't passed yet, but it's going through and it looks like it's about to pass. And it is to make sure that there is an ability to do more appropriate compensation.
You're
For
talking about
elect-
for general law, cities work city councils directly, and it did pass, the governor did sign it. It wouldn't be applicable to this.
Okay, so that was only elected bodies.
Yeah, it's specifically city councils, for general law cities, non-charter city councils.
But it's also important for the committees and also your councils in particular. I know that Dublin does it every other year. And so that's just like standard protocol, right? Whether the council votes for it or not, or to get their 3% or 5%, that's up to the council. But it's always good to have something like some types of standards that you can go by every year, or every other year. And that's really up to your council on what the council's looking to do.
Yeah.
Because then it's more fair that way, right? With regards to you're always compensating. I mean, we bring this up every other year at our Dublin Council, for many, many years. So it's just really up to the committees, in my opinion, to either have it as a standard rule or the council.
Okay, all right, thanks for the clarification on that.
Okay, not seeing any other questions. I will ask for a motion in a second.
Brown moves approval.
Second,
All right. Please take roll.
Yes, Vice Chair Browning.
Aye.
Director Brown.
Yes.
Director Halbert.
Yes.
Director Josie.
Aye.
Director Click. Aye. Director Testa.
aye.
And Chair Hernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 9, our executive director's report.
Great, thank you very much, Chair Hernandez. I'll start with the good news. Ridership is continuing to trend in a positive direction. You may recall, we fully restored our Route 10R to 15-minute service all day in April, and we are seeing the results of that ridership increase. So we are still down compared to pre-COVID, but we are closing in on 75% of pre-COVID, which is great. We were at around 70% or below, 65 to 70%, which is wonderful. So weekday ridership is looking strong. Our weekend ridership has been strong throughout the last few years. We are nearly exactly the same as where we were with pre-COVID weekend ridership. I wanted to give you a bus stops update, 2 issues. First, just to bring back the Hacienda Business Park shelter update. So as you know, the Hacienda Business Park Management team has been working to replace the panels in their shelters. This is a few weeks old, but at least 15 of the 24 shelters have been replaced. A lot of kudos go to the LAVTA team and to Tamara for identifying the funding to support the Hacienda Business Park in their panel replacement. Hacienda management feels very confident that you will see a greatly improved shelter condition. And if there are any issues, do not hesitate to contact me or to contact James directly. He continues to feel confident in his contractor's ability to address those shelters. And you may recall that at our, I think it was our March TAC meeting, there was a request received by a TAC member to do some improvements at a bus stop on First and Neal in Pleasanton. This is on the Route 8. It's across from the park. And we've been working very hard with the City of Pleasanton staff to look at options for expanding the concrete footprint of the landing pad at that bus stop. In your packet, you'll see pictures of the street view of the location as well as a map. Basically, the city first approached the homeowner to see if they would be willing to entertain an extension of the red curb in front of their house so that the bus could more easily pull into the stop and alight passengers on the small landing pad. The homeowner was not interested in an extension of the red curb. So the city now is recommending we remove the trees and pour a larger concrete pad right at the corner of First and Neal. And we are awaiting a cost proposal from the City of Pleasanton. So I will bring that back to the board when I get more information. Are there any questions about that, the bus stops?
So I'm looking at the photo and it looks like there's a small tree. And then you've got 3 or 4 larger trees by the corner.
Yeah.
Are you looking to remove the small tree?
It's the 3 larger trees by the corner. The city is
So remove
proposing
3
to pave the
all of
whole. Yeah, so we're gonna see what the cost is and then we'll make
To
a,
us, it isn't a cost. It's a visual. It's
Okay.
3 trees and that's gonna change the look significantly.
Okay.
Or for me, I'll speak for
It's
myself.
right there where somebody comes up and you want to make a right hand
Yeah,
turn, so the
yeah.
bus would block the right hand turn. So I guess that's why I was thinking a little back further.
that's originally what we were proposing, that red curb extension is just back further. You might not be able to see it so much in the picture, but,
But the homeowner won't like the removal of the trees either.
you know.
One or the other.
Yeah, well, or not, we can also just, it was a limited one complaint that we received, and that is why we offer the ADA paratransit service for, a person who cannot access the fixed route system. That's why we do have the complimentary service, so.
It's very small. The expansion suggested is very large.
Yes,
Is there a middle ground that has been
there
discussed?
might be, okay, there might be. We're waiting on more information from the city. I would not have recommended that at LAVTA bear the full cost of doing the whole paving. I think that would be quite significant for a small number of riders who would benefit. But so the city was gonna come back and let us know if they were to do it, what it would cost, but I'm still on the fence with what I would recommend, given that it's a small number of people who use that stuff.
And I think board member Kick made a great point. I mean, you don't need to pay that entire area.
Okay.
I would think at least, but
Yeah.
that's just using the logic hat. You never know what somebody who has physical disabilities trying to get on. and
Yeah,
off
or
this.
maybe there's some reason the city engineer has decided that we can't pay that
Yeah.
insurance, right? We don't know.
Yeah.
We'll
Let's keep working on
we'll
it.
keep researching this, and before I forget, I do have a meeting with James to revisit the Hacienda agreement next week, so I just wanted to make sure I brought that up. So wish me luck with that. Thank
And
you.
since you backstep to James on
Yes.
Hacienda, where you said that the funding had been arranged, where
Yeah.
did the funding come from?
It's state funding. State of good repair funding. Thank you. Sorry, I have a whole spreadsheet in my head. It's state of good repair funding. So because our buses go to those shelters, it qualifies for funding that we have. We have the funding behind the city because while we do repairs on our shelters, we weren't using it up fast enough. And then it was brought up last year in April or May that the shelters just look horrible. And so I had a meeting with James and we talked about it and he just said he had a cash flow issue. So he asked for a loan and I was like, yeah, we can't do that. So I talked to the state, the people in charge of state of good repair, to see if it would qualify and it did. So I think we ended up about $70,000. It wasn't a ton, because we're just replacing the panels, the polycarbonate panels. It's taken quite a bit of time, but part of the reason is because he changed contractors. His previous contractor, the panels, the polycarbonate can just be cleaned so many times. You can only clean graffiti off of it so many times before it becomes hazy and kind of just looks bad. And they've reached that point because he hadn't replaced it in so long. But this new contractor not only is doing a great job about replacing this, but this new contractor is actually cleaning the shelters, which his previous one, we did a whole tour about the end of business park one day and came up with the fact that the only clean shelter was the one in front of his office. So, I mean, they were bad. There was one that had a milkshake that had been on it for like a year.
Yep.
And so, he's doing a much better job, I think, because we're, staying on top of him about it, so. But if you drive through and you see something, please let us know, because he's still responsible to keep them all clean, whether we have the grant for him or not.
And he wasn't doing that for a while. So
Right.
That's why we were a little bit more after him, because he wasn't being responsible.
I understand that. I mean, we often have to nudge on landscape and different things that are their responsibility. That's why I was wondering really if we were able to cover the funding, what really is their responsibility? And what is his role?
Well, technically, we don't have an agreement with him, but the state of good repair responsibility is that he will take care of those, that they will be taken care of properly for at least 5 years after they're installed. So it'll be up to us to kind of if we drive through.
And we just purchased the panels, so the labor, removal of the old panels and installation of the new ones, that would be all on, the hacienda.
We literally
Okay,
just.
so it's the
probably
funding that we just covered material.
Correct.
Okay.
That's my understanding, just the polycarbonate.
So they're still covering some responsibility.
Yeah, they're still, the shelters are still completely their responsibility. This is just kind of a olive branch. Like, hey, we keep complaining to you, what can we do to help you fix this?
Oh, well, that's nice that there was some support there and they're still doing theirs. Okay, thanks.
Yes. So moving on to another capital project, just wanted to give you an update that we are proceeding with the design work to retrofit 2 maintenance bays here so that we can maintain hydrogen fuel cell buses when we are ready to purchase those. The design is underway. We will be issuing an IFB to procure construction services probably at the beginning of the year, and the construction should not take more than 3 to 6 months. So that should be complete by the end of 24. The long range transit plan. So you may recall that we have been working with Nelson Nygaard on a long range transit plan for the agency. This started in 2019 and was delayed multiple times for obvious reasons due to COVID and whatnot. And even now, long-range planning is difficult. There are a lot of uncertainties, and it's very hard to read the tea leaves when state funding is not necessarily secure for transit, when there are changes to commuter patterns, and also that BART is changing its service model, going to 20-minute service 7 days a week. So given the short-term challenges of completing a long-range transit plan, staff would like to shift the direction of the LRTP to focus on Valley Link planning. This would allow us to redirect the funds to complete a conceptual service plan for the initial operating segment of Valley Link. Will give us an idea of the market analysis and the level of service and preliminary budget that we would need to be ready to serve the Valley Link stations once operational. This gives us a growth scenario for expanded service, and I think would greatly assist us in our grants in the future. When we are seeing the successful grants, there is a lot of new service tied to them, running with zero emissions vehicles, with associated ridership benefits, and we don't have a growth scenario yet for the bus system. And I think Valley Link is a perfect opportunity for us to really take a look at where the routes go. And this will be again a conceptual service design that would get fine-tuned as the railroad gets closer and closer. But I wanted to take the board's temperature on that before moving too far. Are there any feedback on any questions, concerns?
Let me back up to the hydrogen modifications here at Rutan for the hydrogen buses. Do you have a date of delivery for the buses?
No, we have not yet taken any action to purchase these buses.
No, but you're already doing bays to maintain them.
Yeah, and we have money to do the hydrogen fueling station as well, that we received grant funding from the state, and so that is in design as well.
So you're making a decision then, even though we're looking at a design for a larger facility over quarries and things of that name, right? And you're making the decision to do an investment, capital investment here without any idea when you're gonna get buses, when you're still trying to work on getting the grant funds together for the larger project, which will be the permanent project. So I guess I'm just wondering how much you want to invest in. I'm asking it as a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, go ahead. We have grant funding to pay for the whole project here, that we can't use for anything else. And we're actually, on the verge of losing it if it's not spent by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So,
Grant funding.
so it's an investment, but it's not coming out of our TDA money.
And the board's plan for your zero emissions buses has you purchasing your fuel cell buses as early as 2025. We wanted to be ready for that. Now, our local manufacturer does not make a fuel cell bus right now. So I have it on my board calendar to bring this back to the board later this fall for discussion about whether you want to move forward with your zero emissions plan and look at purchasing from another manufacturer. There are manufacturers that exist with this technology, or whether you want to defer your first purchase and continue with your diesel hybrids that you have today. So that's a decision that I will be bringing to you this fall. We were not successful in our Lono bus and bus facilities grant. The awards were just announced a few weeks ago. So we don't have our funding yet identified for the Atlantis facility. We'll continue to work on that next year. And I think with Jennifer back, we'll have a stronger application next year. But this is your fail safe to ensure that we can fuel and maintain these vehicles per our zero emissions plan, which has you purchasing them in 25 and 26.
So since we don't have an actual date of when we're gonna actually do the groundbreaking for the other facility, then it's just, we go forward with the hydrogen.
Well, that's
zero
new
emission.
information to me that you did not obtain any funding for that facility. That's new to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I missed it in some previous, so it makes sense that you're prepared here.
We were going to do both regardless. We were hedging our bets that we may not get the grant award. And so and again, to spend this money that Tamara indicated, this money has to be spent by the end of this year, early next year.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation.
Sure.
I have a follow-up question on the long-range planning. Are you talking about focusing exclusively in that long-range transit plan on the Valley Link, for lack of a better term? Or is that where you want to put the bulk of your focus? But continuing to make sure that we're planning long-term for balancing ridership within the three cities, and how we were talking about earlier about, the school trippers and how they make up such a big part of our current ridership, making sure that we're not neglecting that piece and balancing all of that and things like that. Or are you talking about in our long-range transit planning, we're gonna focus exclusively on?
It would not be exclusively on Valley, to be the whole corridor, the whole 580 corridor. We can absolutely add in an element to look at the balancing of the services for the three cities. But it's not just exclusively Valley. Like, it's really, how could the network transform with the two stations, South Trenton, three, I guess, with the BART station. How could the network transform? How should the 30R transform to serve the stations? Is microtransit something that we want to think about? But I will absolutely add in to make sure the resource allocation.
Well, I don't think your focus is ever gonna be off on that. I guess and correct me if I'm wrong, is that it actually opens us up to be able to get more grant funding if you include Valley Link. So
Yeah,
for
the
sure.
door opens up
Yeah.
for LAVTA if you see kind of a bigger macro through the 580 versus just saying opening that. So that's always going to be in the back of our head.
I just
But
want
it's
to
us-
make sure we don't lose it.
Well, of course not, but it's the whole point of, it gives us the ability to be able to open up more state funding and also other potential grant funding.
Yeah, understood that.
I know that Livermore is gonna have our general plan probably voted on late 24, early 25. Pleasanton, you're redoing your general plan too now or no?
Yeah,
Um,
we are not planned to do the general plan, but we should.
when is Dublin?
We're a little too.
When did you read New York?
2025.
Gosh, well, I mean, we don't go and do a full regional plan. We don't, that's not how we do it in Dublin. We do it differently because we can do amendments, and so we've kind of set a target and we tend to try to hit those targets as we go along. We're almost a build out. And so, you know, we'll be focusing in other areas besides just the east side. area.
Yeah, well, either way, Livermore's general plan is gonna give us a 20-year map
Okay.
of growth. And so I think that's another opportunity to show growth for the system.
Yeah.
In different areas of town. So if growth equals grant potential.
Yeah.
Not just depending on Valley Link, that growth might be faster than
Okay.
Valley
Okay.
Link. So that's something to look at.
And I want to go back to your comment, the Wheels in Motion service plan that we're starting here, we'll also be looking at the resource distribution between the cities. Because there is some work that needs to be done. I think our Zoom for closed session just ended. FYI, you might want to start a new one. Okay, so let me move on to finance and admin. So related to the Bay Area Transit Fiscal Cliff, on Saturday, June 24th, California state legislators and Governor Newsom reached an agreement on short-term funding to prevent several Bay Area transit agencies from falling off a fiscal cliff. This agreement included the restoration of $2 billion in TIRCIP funding and a commitment of $1.1 billion in new and redirected funding to agencies facing a fiscal cliff. There are 3 Bay Area agencies who would be eligible for this funding: Muni, AC Transit, and BART. This funding has some strings attached to it. I don't know what those strings are yet, but I'll be learning more this week. While this package of funding will provide some relief, it will not provide the necessary relief to get these agencies to 2026, when there's talks about a new ballot measure being introduced in the region. So on Monday, June 26th, Senator Scott Wiener introduced a bill, SB 532, which would increase the tolls on state-owned bridges from $7 to $8.50 for a 5-year period, with that additional funding being made available to Bay Area transit operators facing a fiscal issue. Circling back to W-2s for board members, at your Finance and Admin Committee meeting in May, it was requested that instead of 1099s, we issue W-2s to the board members for your stipends. We've learned that we can do that, and we will begin to do that in calendar year 24. We will just need the necessary paperwork, which is a W-4, for example, and any required documentation for I-9 requirements. So we will follow up with you all. The legal services RFP was released in June, and proposals are due July 26th, not July 14th, as it says in your packet. And our public outreach RFP to support our Wheels in Motion plan, proposals were due today, actually, not on July 14th. So we did receive at least one proposal, so that's great. And we are busy recruiting for Tony's replacement, although can't replace Tony. He's on vacation right now. Right before his retirement.
In time for his party.
I know.
I know, so his party is a week from Friday. I do want to make sure you all have that on your calendar. We're getting Lockford sausages, so it'll be here from 11 to 1. So please join us if you can. We are recruiting for a director of customer experience. So we have posted that on LinkedIn, Transit Talent. And I would welcome you sharing that with your networks if you know anyone that would be a good fit. This person will be responsible for all the customer facing materials, marketing, outreach, your fare programs, your bus advertising contracts, things of that nature. So I think a really important member of our executive team. And we have our bus rodeo again on October 28th, and we are finalizing details. We're securing sponsorships. Gillig has agreed to be a sponsor. The Teamsters will be providing some barbecue, which is great. And for those of you who are interested in learning to drive a bus, we are securing a Saturday in October. So we will poll you all to determine which Saturday is the best one for you, but we will have 2 courses or two challenges for you. They will be a little easier than our bus operators, than they have, but, I think it'll be really exciting and, looking forward to your participation. And then I'll just
Do we have insurance enough for us to drive?
I don't think we'll have passengers, so it'll be on us.
It's just to be, we have to sign a disclaimer.
Your insurance will not be very happy.
all right. Sorry,
I'm
I'm
sure none of us have a, what is it, a class.
yeah,
Do not.
So in your packet, you've got your April and your May stats. We didn't have your April stats at your last meeting, so you can look through those. I will just point out that your TNC ridership on your Go Tri Valley continues to go up. March, April, and May all saw record usage, so something is going right there. And actually, we are nearing the point where we need to bring you your contracts with your TNCs because they are, exceeding spending authority. So we'll be bringing that to you at the next committee meeting. The other item I'll point out before I stop talking is your Alameda County Student Pass Program. I'm bringing that back to the full board at your September meeting for discussion. Just wanted to circle back from there. And that concludes my very lengthy report. I can take any questions.
Any questions? Not seeing any questions. We will go ahead and go on to item number 11, which is number 10, matters initiated by the board. So do we have any matters initiated by our actual board? Our own board?
None.
No, okay. And then so we will go ahead and go and adjourn. Well, we'll pause this meeting and then go into our closed session meeting at 4:47. He may not, he may not. I know he has another meeting, so. Okay, are you ready? All right, we will convene back into our regular meeting, and we actually have nothing to report.
No reportable action.
All right, so then, we will go ahead and adjourn our meeting at 5:05. And our next meeting is September 11th.